Hello everyone, welcome along to the Blood Red channel for the Debrief live after Liverpool lost 1-0 to Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. Another dreadful result in a very mixed bag of a season, to be honest, for Liverpool this season. My name is Patrick Smith, welcome along everyone. I'm joined by Matt Addison today. Matt, I mean, there's plenty to get into with this one, isn't there? What's your initial reaction to that one? Another really disappointing defeat for Liverpool this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure where to start. Again, it's just familiar failings really for Liverpool. They didn't take the chances. They gave away stupid goals. They were a stupid goal. They were sloppy, didn't really get started. And it's just disappointing really because off the back of what has been a really promising week, obviously the Manchester City and the West Ham victories, Liverpool rode the luck at times in both of those games, but it just didn't happen for them today. The players that they had available, I'm not convinced personally that should have been the formation that they were in. I don't think it particularly suited a number of them. It just didn't look right in lots of different ways really. I don't think it made the most of Salah, certainly didn't make the most of Curtis Jones. Fabio Carvalho struggled a little bit. Thought Harvey Elliott was a bit of a bright spark, but yeah, just really, really poor really from start to finish. And it just didn't feel, as soon as Nottingham Forest scored, you thought, right, that's it, 1-0, that's what it's going to finish. It didn't ever feel like Liverpool were going to get back into it. So, yeah, loads and loads more problems to solve. The problem, really, that they've got more than anything is that they just don't have any other options, really. There's no like, oh, well, just bring Thiago back and suddenly it works again. I'm pretty sure he'll be back, if not for Ajax, and certainly for next weekend. But it's going to take more than just him to fix this, I think.
I mean, Matt, we should be beating Nottingham Forest without Thiago today. I mean, another disgraceful performance because it had been such a good week for Liverpool. Obviously, beating Manchester City at Anfield, an amazing match, an amazing result. But continuing that, not in as convincing style against West Ham, but still getting the 3 points. It's been a really important week. And then we're sort of back to square one again after today's results, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. You just want to build that momentum, and this season, it's not the best season for building momentum, but whenever you've got that, you need to be able to take it, and Liverpool have just lost it again, really. I think it was just really poor in terms of the way that they started the game. Everyone knows that when you go to Forest or you go to these teams, you've got to quieten the crowd. You don't give them any encouragement. You don't give away anything stupid. And straight away, that's exactly the opposite of what Liverpool did. They were giving the crowd something to get behind. And as soon as Forest scored that goal, of course the crowd is going to get them over the line. Of course they're going to throw loads of bodies behind the ball. And Liverpool did have one or two chances. It's just a shame, really, that Virgil van Dijk seemed to head the ball anywhere but towards the goal. It just... You don't want to pin it on him because there were far worse performers, but yeah, the chances that Liverpool had were enough to get something from the match. I think that's what makes it even more frustrating, is that Liverpool were atrocious, but they still should have got at least a point out of it, and they somehow managed to not manage that. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's just one of those really where, like I say, there's no obvious fix, there's no obvious solution to this. It's just a really poor performance. Didn't really have too much on the bench. If you turn into Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain after however long he's been out, might have even been Nottingham Forest, his last appearance in the FA Cup last season. So
his last start of Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, if you turn into him off the bench, I think, the squad depth is in real trouble.
I mean, the main problem Liverpool fans across social media and, the comments as well we're seeing is the problem with creativity, Matt. Now, we've had a few injuries recently. Obviously, we've lost Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, Darwin Núñez was absent. I mean, Thiago's creativity from midfield, but it's particularly in the attacking areas, Matt. There's lots of calls about the recruitment perhaps not being what it needs to be, and we're now in a position where attacking numbers are limited, and, we're potentially one injury away from a real crisis if we're not in one already.
Yeah, I mean, we've known that for a while, haven't we? That's nothing new. I think the frustration for me is that they went with this 4-4-2 thing today, and I mean, it suits Harvey Elliott, and I think we saw that a little bit. I think he was probably the brightest of Liverpool's attacking players, but Roberto Firmino did absolutely nothing. Mohamed Salah hardly touched the ball. Even when he did, just wasn't happening for him. Fabio Carvalho, I don't think is quite up to speed with the Premier League just yet. He just looks a little bit lightweight, which, again, that isn't a surprise. It's not something that we didn't know already. He should be a player that is sort of in the Oxlade-Chamberlain position of coming on and trying to change the game. He shouldn't be someone that Liverpool are relying on. But just even looking at the players in that starting 11, you look at the team on paper, that looked to me perfectly set up to have Fabinho as the number 6 with Elliott to the right, Curtis Jones to the left in the 3. I think that gets more out of 2 out of the 3 of those at least. And Then you've got Fabio Carvalho further forward. You've got Salah out wide where there was loads of space rather than through the middle. And you've got Roberto Firmino who's there and knows that job, I think, a lot better than playing in a two. He seemed to just get a little bit lost, really. Didn't seem to know where to pop up. So it's not like you couldn't have changed something and gone with a different formation. Even if you started with the 4-4-2, realised it wasn't working, you still had the option to change it. But they just didn't do that. They were far too reactive. They didn't make a change, didn't bring Trent and Henderson on until Liverpool were 1-0 down. And at that point, I mean, it was the only way that Liverpool were going to score was from a set piece, because the only other sort of creative outlet really was to give the ball to Trent, and he was going to put the ball into the box. And when you've got loads of players behind the ball, you've got not particularly physically aerially dominant players on the pitch for Liverpool, it just wasn't really going to happen for them. So that's the frustration for me, is that I look at the team that they had out there, and even the team that they had out there didn't play well, but they didn't even get the most out of the players that were there. So yeah, that's doubly frustrating for me. But even having said all of that, you can't look past the performances really just weren't good enough. Whatever formation, whatever system and all the rest of it, if Alisson Becker is consistently the best Liverpool player, I think that kind of sums up you've got a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I think it's just a combination of that. It's going to be a real headache for Jurgen Klopp over the next couple of weeks, because when the 4-4-2 was introduced, we had all these attacking players to choose from. Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, who are now injured. It showed signs of struggling perhaps against West Ham midweek, with Darwin Núñez sort of carrying them in that game in the attacking lineup. Whereas without Darwin today, they really seemed to struggle with those four attackers. I mean, it's two midfielders, let's be honest, playing in attacking roles. And as you said, Matt, they could have just switched back to the 4-3-3, and perhaps that's something we'll see in the next matches. Now, would you like to see them go back to the 4-3-3? Against Ajax is going to be a very, very crucial game for the Reds. Or would you stick with this 4-4-2 and hope Núñez can come back from his injury?
Yeah, I think it depends on Darwin Núñez. I think I would have gone 4-3-3 today just based on who they had available to them. But I think if Thiago and Núñez are back in, I think we saw that just in the one isolated game really against West Ham. You think of what happened when those two were on the pitch. As soon as they went off, that was when West Ham grew into it and Liverpool weren't able to keep hold of the ball. So I think if you've got Darwin Núñez there, maybe it makes more sense to go with the 4-4-2. Maybe then he can bring Mohamed Salah into the game. Maybe then when Trent's throwing loads of these crosses into the box, maybe that is for Darwin Núñez, and maybe one of the set pieces falls for him instead of for Virgil van Dijk, and maybe it's a different outcome. But I just think you can't continually look to the easy excuse really of the injuries. Liverpool have got players missing. We know how important Thiago is, but that he's going to miss matches. Darwin Núñez, okay, fair enough. But again, Diogo Jota has missed matches. He's out at the moment. Luis Diaz is obviously out as well, which is one that you couldn't have predicted. But we said in the summer that Liverpool probably needed another attacking player. So the injuries are kind of an explanation to a certain extent. But even those, it's kind of self-inflicted in terms of what they've left themselves with a job of doing really this season. And even if you take the injuries out of it, the starting 11 that was on the pitch for Liverpool today was, as you said before, more than enough to be able to beat what is a really poor Forest side. I mean, Liverpool, particularly in that first half, Liverpool were giving them opportunities to counter-attack. They were just playing the ball into the midfield and they weren't really being punished. But, Forest, if they made better use of those positions, they could have easily been a couple of goals up in that first half. So that's the worry for me, is that Liverpool just went back a couple of steps again today. We've seen them eradicate those stupid mistakes, stop doing the silly things, apart from the Joe Gomez penalty midweek. That was kind of the exception. The rest of the time, against City and against West Ham, they've done the things that are sensible. They've done the things that you want them to do. And they've moved away from this nonsense. But they've just gone back to it today and started to give away silly things. And when you start to do that, you give home crowds like Forest a bit of encouragement. As soon as they score, it gives them something to hold on to. And it's just so obvious, really, that it's just not quite working for them in those moments. And then you just want to see a bit of a change, but they just continue to do it. And unfortunately for them, they couldn't get the first goal. I think if they, at 0-0, if Liverpool had scored and gone ahead, it's a completely different game. But obviously, again, that can't be an excuse, because I can't remember the exact numbers now. I've lost count, but it's something like 18 out of 22 or 19 out of 23 or whatever it is where they've gone a goal down now in games. Again, that can't be an excuse, can't be an explanation. It's just something they're going to have to deal with and try and struggle the way through to the World Cup. Maybe try and get one or two players in January and go again. But yeah, it's quite hard to come up with any answers at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's the glaringly obvious problem with today, and it's a problem that's been showing all season. And hopefully today is a bit of a catalyst for FSG to wake up and see this, because not only is there a lack of attacking options, there's a lack of diversity within those attacking options. You know, Nottingham Forest had the better options to bring off the bench today than Liverpool did, if we're being totally honest. You know, on the wings, there's not much speed for Liverpool. They're missing that sort of different striker you'd get with Divock Origi. You know, today would be a prime Divock Origi match. Throw him on, see if he can win a header in the box, you know, win a knockdown for someone else. And those options are something that Liverpool are clearly missing this season. But Matt, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much to all of you for watching on and giving us your comments. It's going to be a very reactive one today, I'm sure. Not the best Liverpool performance. But make sure, everyone, that you stick around with us right here on the Blood Red channel, because I'm sure, like me, you're eagerly awaiting the words of Jurgen Klopp in his press conference. We'll bring that to you as soon as we have it. But from myself, Patrick Smith and Matt Addison, we'll catch you again on the Debrief next time.